Hey, good morning everyone. It's Monday morning, and as most of you who watch the news know, we're on Baby Watch for our England neighbors. And because of the internet and the wide scope of the internet, we all have friends across the globe, and I have several English friends. So I thought that today, for my Monday musings, I would make a card for them. So I'm starting out with this is a flat card, and it's a craft card, and it comes with an envelope as well. So I'm going to put the envelope to the side a little bit, and I want to make a mat. And let me grab my ruler, my handy dandy Tim Holtz ruler, and I'm pretty sure of the size of this card that I want to measure to make sure. I don't always measure, but I will today. So that's 5 by 7. Okay, so I want my mat. I don't really care for the 1/8 inch. I think that's a little too small, so I'm going to go for the 1/4 inch difference. So I'm going to pull over my Fiskars cutter here, and I'm going to measure this this is Bazzill paper, so I'm going to take this little thing off of here, and I'm using the color Pomegranate Splash. It's kind of a nice deep red, looks like British red. So I'm going to make this 4.5 by 6.5, and that will give me a 1/4 inch border on each side. So I'm going to need, okay, I hope I'm not messing with my camera angle here, but I'm going to need to pull this out. So let's go 6.5 right here, and make that cut, and then I'm going to go 4.5 there. And I can get 2 cards out of this. What's so nice is that this is 6.5 inch square, so you can either cut it again for another card, or you can use it for something else. It's a nice size square. Okay, so I'm going to move this back out of the way for a moment, and let me check my camera angle. Okay, so I'm going to pull this back in, and that looks the way I like it. And then I have a couple of other things here. Well, let's go ahead and adhere this to my card base. Failed to get my adhesive out before I turned on the camera, so I'm going to go ahead, and I think I want to distress this also, my edges. So I'm going to pull out my little edge distresser here, this is a little heart sanding holder. Holds some sandpaper, but it also has a little blade on it that I can use to distress with. And I think what I would also like to do is to curl my edges up a little bit. So I'm going to reach over and grab a pencil. You can use a pencil, a paintbrush, whatever you want to use. I have paintbrushes in front of me and pencils to the left of me. And I'm going to fold it up to some opposite corners. Okay, and then before I adhere that, I'm going to use my stamp set that's called Tiny Things, And I'm going to put a few stamps here that I think are appropriate. And I've got some Vintage Photo ink in front of me. I actually think I'd like to use, well, let's use something a little browner. Pardon me for just a moment. You know how Mondays can be. Just sometimes don't have it all together. And I didn't have it all together when I started the camera. So I'm going to use Gathered Twigs, and I'm going to pull out my phone for Gathered Twigs and get that ready. Okay. So I'm going to, my goodness. I also need a stamping block. So, okay, let's stamp this little teacup with Gathered Twigs. Let's stamp that right up here in this corner. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think that Vintage Photo would be dark enough, and that's correct. And then I'm going to stamp the top hat. I'm also going to do that in Gathered Twigs. Top hats are normally black, but I like the tone-on-tone look. So, put that in that corner. It looks pretty good. Okay. So let's close that up. And now, I want to adhere my piece, but let's go ahead and brush around our edges before we put that on, because it's always easier with a little bit less in the way. So let's put this. This is my Vintage Photo. Now I really don't quite know how I want this card to end up looking. Just kind of creating on the fly here. Do that often. Sometimes I have an idea, sometimes it's fully fleshed out, sometimes it's not. And oh, I thought that was, oh my goodness, I'm having a Monday. I thought that was Gathered Twigs, but I guess I pulled out Brushed Corduroy. So I guess that's what we're using instead of Gathered Twigs, is Brushed Corduroy. But I happen to have a little bit of Gathered Twigs in it because I'm using the foam that I have designated as Gathered Twigs, so looks like we're getting a little bit of a combination. What I did was I put the Vintage Photo on there first, and then I went around it in a smaller area to darken those edges. Okay? And let's see, do I want to do a little bit of manipulation here? Maybe just a little. Just a little bit of a curl on the card as well. Not much. I might flatten that back out. We'll see. Okay, so let's also go around the edge of this paper, which I could have done before I curled it and didn't. And I'm looking for my Barn Red ink, which is right in front of me. Okay. Fired Brick. I'm batting 0 on my names of stamp colors this morning, am I not? Okay, so let's go around this edge. Give that some frame. It comes up looking a little darker on my distressed edges, which is a good look. Okay, so we've got that. Now I think I'm ready to adhere it to my card. Okay, so I'm going to put some adhesive there. Stopping short of my curled corners. And let's do that straight, hopefully. Now I'm going to take my pencil and curl those corners again, even better, even tighter, so that I can reveal my stamp. Okay, and while my pencil is in there, I'm going to take my pad and ink that underside. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on this end. Okay. Get a little tighter curl there. Let's take a paintbrush, a smaller paintbrush that is smaller than my pencil. Get a little tighter curl there. There we go. That's the look I was trying to achieve. Okay, now I have a couple of things here. These are from the Tim Holtz and Texture Fades. This is a Union Jack, and then there's the Regal Lion. And I was experimenting, so my numbers on this one are backwards to this one, to this side, and I sanded it. I'm using the Craft Core, the Nostalgic Collection, and let me get out a sanding block. Maybe sand this a little more. And this brings up the core behind it, gives it a nice distressed look. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And this is the side that I should have embossed because the numbers are right, but on this side it's just the craft, so there's really nothing, not a lot that you can bring up when you sand, maybe just a little. But let's take our brushed corduroy and ink around that and see what happens. And some magic. Now we get to see it very clearly. So that's the fun of a texture fade. And I could even do it over here, but that would kind of defeat my purpose of bringing out all of that texture. So, you know, I really don't want to do that unless it's just around the edges. So, let me sand that back off again. So if you're just using a normal cardstock, then you would want to ink around it to bring up the embossing. But if you're using core cardstock, then use the color side. We have color sides, and then we have the other side is craft. So if you want to play with color, then use this in a sanding block. And then I also have this over here, the Union Jack, and I want to sand that a little bit more, bring that up a little bit more. And I'm going to sand the edges because I'm going to put a little Chipped Sapphire ink around the edges. Okay, and let's get the Chipped Sapphire ink out. Here we are. Let me make sure that I have the right. Okay. I do not think I have the right foam on there, so I'm going to come over here and use a different foam that's already got some blue on it. Now we're getting the proper color. Okay, so that's the Chipped Sapphire. And I have really had not decided which page I wanted to use, whether I wanted to use the blue or this one, but I think I'm going to go with the blue because that does really look a lot more like Union Jack. Now, because I curled my edges, I'm going to trim this off just a little bit. So I'm going to pull my cutter back out real quick, and I'm just going to trim maybe a quarter, eighth of an inch off all the way around, and let's go a quarter. Or let's just do it off the top and bottom, and then put it up there and see how it looks. Maybe I won't need to do the sides. No, I think let's do the sides. Let's do the sides an eighth of an inch. Okay, there we go. And that looks much better. Okay, but since I did some cutting, then I need to do some re-inking on my edges. Okay. Okay. So then let's adhere that. Okay. And I'm going to put it a little closer to the top than the bottom, because I want place for a sentiment. And I'm going to use white cardstock for that. And also, I cut this out on my Cricut. It's the nursery rhymes, and it is in the delivery button, and it says special delivery. Now this is a little bit fragile, so I'm going to see if I can ink around it and see what happens. Just kind of have to be quite careful. This ink adds a lot to it. You don't really want it to be stark white. Now, I put blue on here, not because I think it's going to be a boy. I think it's going to be a girl. But we don't know yet, do we? She's in labor, but she has not yet given birth. And so I'm going to put a little of the red on there as well, and make this about the Union Jack, not about whether it's a boy or a girl. Okay, so there, got that. Now we can put this on, and we'll see if we want that on, where we want that. So, but what I want to do now is I'm using Tim Holtz's Simple Sayings, and I could either use congratulations or just celebrate. And let's stamp them both and see which one we want to use. And I think I'm going to use the Chipped Sapphire. Yeah, let's use the blue. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to stamp the border. I didn't get a large stamp block, but I think we can make it do. With this, you want to be careful not to press or rock too much, because you don't want the inside to you don't want a line on the inside. Sometimes you get some ink on there, and then you can if you do, you can just take a rag and wipe it out. Okay, let's try that again because my ends didn't stamp well. It's because they happen to be sitting out top side of the block. And I got my bar on that one, so let's just go ahead and use, well, my goodness, you know, this is a real Monday, isn't it? Okay, let's go again. Now, I got a little bit of one, but I think will work. Okay, so let's do one more. Hey, that's the best one yet. Okay. So I'm going to pull this off the block and put on my Just Celebrate. Now let's try it here. And let's try the congratulations. Because I did get such a small stamp block out and I didn't want to get back up and make you wait, then I can't use my lines to be straight, so I'm going to get my head down here. Okay, so there we have a few choices. And I'm going to take some very small scissors and cut these out. And I kind of like to leave a little bit of a white border on the edge. Okay, and then let's cut. Let's take this one. Okay. Now I want to use something else that I didn't bring over. There's some pop-up dots, so hold on. There we go. Okay, so here's what congratulations looks like on top of there, and here's what Just Celebrate. I think I'm going to go with congratulations. So I'm going to pull this off. Maybe. Ever have one of those Mondays? Okay. Let's put that down here. Okay, and then I think maybe this needs one more element, and I have this rosette, and I cut it with the Tim Holtz rosette die. It's a single rosette. It's a little larger. There, he has another one that has two smaller ones, and then I used the Sizzix cardstock, the coordinations, the color cord. This also you can sand off, and it's in this nice convenient size, and it just exactly fits the die. Just exactly fits the die. You see that? And what I also did before I folded it, after I cut it out, before I folded it, I used some tissue tape on it, and that keeps your perforations from splitting while you're trying to fold, and it holds it together very well, and then it looks really nice on top. And then this side I put my I put a red medallion on, but I got it on there crooked, so I'm going to take it off and put it on back on again. Okay, now I can use the sanding block on this. Rough that up a little bit on either side. So I could use it that way, and this is not quite the same blue as this is. Or I could use it this way, and I like this way better. I think I don't really, the red's okay, but I really like the tissue tape paper. So maybe we would just, I'm going to put this on here, but I'm going to offset it just a little bit so that you see a little bit of that blue. There, I like that well enough. Let's rough it up a little. Okay, and then how about we take our special delivery and mount it right there. I think that'll work. I think I want to put a little bit of brown on this as well. So I'm gonna get my brown applicator and just put a little of that on. And I think I would also like to put it on my rosette. Let's get the brush corduroy back out that should have been gathered twigs, and let's add that. Okay. And I'm going to mount that right there. Right here on this corner. And normally I would put this through my Xyron, but I don't want the glue to be everywhere. I only want it to be right here. So, or do I want to do this instead? I just kind of really don't know what I want to do with it. Maybe let's do that. Let's go ahead and put it through the Xyron. Put it through down here through my X, and I'm going to hold on here and pull it through. And sticker maker. Okay. It's quite sticky. And I'm just going to tuck that right there and right there. See, I told you I really didn't know what I was going to do with this when I started. And I think I need to put a little brown on this because it's just too white for this card. So should have done it before I put it on there, but I'm going to add it now. Yeah, that was just a little too clean looking. And I think we're finished. So here's our card for the special delivery of the new Royal Baby. So now I'm kind of thinking that I need a little something here, maybe a little something metal. So I'm going to figure out what that is, and or so maybe we could stamp in white ink, but I don't know. What do you all think? Am I done, or do I need a little something more? That's actually pretty cool. But I'd have to stamp it on white and then glue it to it. Let's see how that looks. I'm going to stamp it in the brushed corduroy. Now, I think I'd like to stamp this in black if I'm going to add it. So, pardon me while I grab the black. I have some archival ink right here. I'm going to ink it and stamp it off. Okay. That's much better. And now I'm going to fussy cut around it. Leaving that little border there makes it possible to not have to go into tiny, tiny little places and mess up your the elements in the picture. And it looks like it's on purpose. When you're cutting like this, you can always get so much better cut if you move your paper instead of your scissors. Okay, now let's see how he looks. Actually, I think that's kind of cool, but we got to put some brown ink around it. So he doesn't look so clean. There we go. You might have liked that better without him, but I kind of like him. So I'm going to put him on there. You could put something metal or some bling. I'm going to do that. And speaking of bling, I've got some bling right here. Got some icicles. Ice-stickles. So maybe we put a little bit. Sorry. Put a little bit of that up here on the stork. And I have some antique brass distress stickles, and I think I would like to, well, that's way too much. Okay, I think I would like to run a thin line up the sides. And then that'll dry down for a little bit of a sparkle. So I think we're finished. And I hope you like my card, and maybe you'll make something like that for some of your English friends. Have a good week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.